many different methods to use when it comes to homeschooling, and I feel like I just want to use a little bit of everything. Hi, I'm Stacey with Kids Learning for Life, and over the past 4 years of homeschooling, I found that I have really taken bits and pieces of all the different homeschooling methods to create my own eclectic homeschooling style. To me, being an eclectic homeschooler means that you mix and match a variety of different homeschool methods and resources and combine them into your own homeschool. So even though multiple different homeschoolers can say they're eclectic, really no two eclectic homeschoolers are the same. Now, I do feel like almost every homeschooler is eclectic to some degree because everybody takes different things and is individualizing their child's education, which this is just the nature of homeschooling. You get to change the lessons or strategies you're using to best suit each of your children's individual needs. Another reason I feel like a lot of homeschoolers are somewhat eclectic is because when you go and look at all the different homeschool styles, you do start to see certain similarities between the different styles. For example, Unschooling and Montessori both put a heavy emphasis in having the child lead and being very play-based. While on the other hand, you have Charlotte Mason and classical methods that both have a heavy emphasis on literature. So as you go through all the different styles, you'll see that there are some crossovers, not entirely, but on certain subjects where a lot of the methods will sort of agree with each other on certain aspects. I'm not trying to say that just because two methods have something that they agree on that they're exactly the same. But due to these similarities, homeschoolers can find value in multiple different methods. So what homeschool methods do I value most? First, I love utilizing family-style homeschooling. Being a homeschooler means we're at home, I get to teach all of my kiddos at the same time, so I really do want to foster kind of that family bond and be able to kind of, two birds, one stone, get a lot of the teaching done together rather than having to have everybody so individual and separate. Whatever curriculum we are using for these subjects, I usually just teach it to everybody as a family. If there are any worksheets, I just modify, for my oldest, I'll have him do something maybe more difficult while my first grader is not doing something as difficult, and just kind of modifying the activities as we go. But at least it's just for me, I only have to plan once and get to do all of the teaching together as a family. Now, I do find that family style learning does tie well into unit studies, which I absolutely love unit studies, but I don't use it as much as I would like to, at least. So unit studies takes one topic or theme and is able to teach multiple different subjects through that one concept. The biggest downside to unit studies is that it takes a lot of planning on the parent's end. I have found some curriculums that do a lot of the planning for you, but just due to the nature of unit studies, especially if you want it to be family style, there is still a lot of prep and planning that goes into these curriculums. Right now, I'm working full-time from home, doing the Kids Learning for Life content, homeschooling my 3 boys, and keeping my house clean. I'm just kidding. I don't actually keep my house as clean as it should be. But again, I can't do it all, so something's gotta give. So anyway, hopefully I'm not the only one that lets the house chores slide every once in a while, because there's just not enough hours in the day, guys. So with all of that on my plate, I think it's safe to assume that I just don't have the time to put into creating the unit studies that I would love to create if I had more time. One of the unit study curriculums that I have tried to use in the past is Layers of Learning, and I have since stopped that because, again, I just found there was way too much prep. Even though they did provide a ton of activity ideas and book lists and everything, I still had to go and gather everything and decide which activities I was going to do for my kids and make sure I had all the materials on hand to do the projects. And so that still took a lot of prep and planning from me, but the curriculum itself still looked really awesome, and I would probably go back to it if I had more time. I have also had my eye on Gather Round Homeschool because I know it really focuses in that family style unit study. But I just don't have the guts to try something new since I have moved away from Layers of Learning and kind of found things that work for me. So if you've tried Gather Round Homeschool, let me know. Is it a lot of extra prep? Do you have to, do a lot of planning, or is it something that is a little more open and go friendly? I'd love to know because I adore unit studies, but I just can't make them really fit the way I would like to. The one way I have been able to kind of squeeze in some unit studies is actually by doing something for Kids Learning for Life. So if you haven't heard, Jenny and I have created film unit studies. Now these are shorter, they typically can last about a week, depending on how you break it up. Some people do it in just a day or two, other people will spread it out to even a month if you would like. But basically what you do is you watch a film, and then there are 6 different subjects that are all covered in activities given for you in order to do right with your kids. It is designed to be open and go friendly, because that's what I need. So there's a lesson already written in there for you to read, there's a video, and then you go and do the activity. We do try to make sure that the activities we select are all things that most people will have on hand. You do want to make sure to check the materials list to see if there's anything random that you're going to need. But other than that, everything you should already hopefully have on hand. These film unit studies have kind of been my outlet to be able to do film unit studies with my kiddos on a smaller scale based on movies we're already watching anyways. So if you would like to check them out, I'll be sure to leave a link in the description, or you can just head to kidslearningforlife.com/film and see which films we have unit studies for right now. All right, the next method that I find that I probably use more than I care to admit based on my love of unit studies and just knowing the way kids learn best and how to implement certain things, but I do find that I do fall back on the traditional method, especially for English language arts and math. Now, there are lots of aspects of the traditional method that I do not want in my homeschool, such as kind of the scheduling and the look of a classroom in my home. I don't like that. I did start out that way. I was very traditional when I started my homeschool journey, and just by doing more research and figuring out how kids learn and learning more about the different methods, I've been able to kind of tailor a new thing. But for English language arts and math, I do find that I do come back to it because I need more support in my curriculums to kind of tell me what to do exactly and follow, especially with English and math, or at least early reading. Things are very sequential in how they have to be taught to have that foundation. So I just like to have curriculums that guide me a little more in this area, so that's why I feel like I'm more traditional in that sense. Now, my YouTube co-host Jenny is secretly plotting, she hasn't told me this, but I think it's true, she's secretly plotting to turn me into Charlotte Mason homeschooler. If you know anything about her, she loves Charlotte Mason, and we actually just did a book club this past summer reading Home Education by Charlotte Mason, which is one of the many books in her teachings. Yeah, I think Jenny's plan is working to turn me into a Charlotte Mason homeschooler. There are so many things when I was reading Home Education that I'm like, yes, that's what I want my children. I want my children to learn not just facts, but I want them to learn deeper. I want them to love learning. I want them to be able to focus. All of these different things. I want them to be able to express themselves verbally. I want them to know how to do all these things. And so there are a lot of things in the Charlotte Mason homeschool method that I really do love, and I'm working towards implementing some of those into our homeschool. First, I have loved the concept of living books in the Charlotte Mason homeschool method. It's just so nice if you are one of the free Charlotte Mason curriculums that is online. Is called Ambleside Online, and I was able to utilize, they have a book list based on year, and so I was able to utilize that book list in getting books for my kiddos to do their read alouds to me. So each kiddo is working on one book that they read aloud to me every couple days, and I was trying to figure out what books I wanted to use. And so the Ambleside Online book list was a huge help in making me feel confident that I was giving them quality literature that's not just twaddle, that's, gonna give them a challenge, and all of that was included. So that was a big one for us this year. Now, the last homeschool style that I feel like can't be me if I say that I'm partially traditional, but there are periods in our homeschooling year where I feel like I'm an unschooler. Now, unschooling is often misunderstood for no schooling, which is not the same thing. Unschooling works by following a child's interest and does rely on the parent to make sure that you have materials and resources and anything your child needs to be able to learn whatever they're interested in. So if your child is interested in baking, you need to make sure you've got your cookbooks and recipes and materials to let them do that skill and be able to do that. Or if they're interested in coding, you want to make sure you've got materials and lessons and things that will help them move forward in that. And so sometimes of the year, I feel like we're just going really, really heavy in on, art. I know my oldest does love to do art, but not all the time. Sometimes he gets into these 1 or 2 weeks of really wanting to do art. So we go ahead and focus on that. Probably more, and then kind of let some of the other stuff go back. So I don't know. It just depends on the time of the year. Let me know in the comments if you also have these weird schedules during your year where it's a little, so sometimes you're really stuck on your schedule, not stuck, but you're really firm on your schedule and you've got it all planned out. And then there's other times of the year where you're let's do art. So anyway, let me know I'm not the only one. Now, just for fun, I did see this super cute Homeschool Styles chart. And when I was reading through the different options, I thought it was really funny that I did relate to multiple of these. I think that's just the eclectic homeschooler's way. But I really found that the one that really stuck out to me was the true eclectic. Now this one mostly loves creating plans but never sticks to them, and then starts the year off with a schedule but ends at unschooling. I do find that that is me. I think it really captures the true reason why I homeschool, to have my children love learning. Yes, you can create a plan, but plans change and that's okay. And just to really want to learn more. We are constantly learning, even as adults, new things all the time. Anytime there's a new iPhone or a new iPhone update, we all get to learn how to make our phones work again. But I just really want my children to know that learning is not just for school, just during school time, but it's something that is just going to happen throughout life. So I am curious, which one of these homeschool styles is you? Feel free to pause the video, look through the options, and let me know which homeschool style you relate to the most. Now, there are some days where I feel more like a relaxed eclectic, and board games definitely count as school. I did create a video, which I will leave right over here for you to check out. These board games are not just fun for the kids to play, but you as well. See you next time, and happy homeschooling.